All right. Well, thanks for coming. We appreciate it. Um, you're running for office, obviously, and you have reasons for that. Why do you think you're the person at this time to replace somebody, to replace an incumbent on the city council?
Well, I think that the council lacks energy and enthusiasm. I think that it's a little on the stagnant side. I don't think that there's been new progressive ideas brought to the council. I think that there's some opportunity out there with stimulus funding, and although the city has taken advantage of some of our stimulus funding that's available, I think that we're missing the boat on some other funding. I think a simple thing that we could do would be to employ a permanent grant writer for the city of El Centro, somebody that spends 40 hours a week just looking for money for the city. The council touts a balanced budget. They tout healthy reserves, but I think the truth of it is into the future we're looking at some really hard times. We're looking at making some tough decisions. I think that the economic downturn with sales tax revenue to the city is going to produce a shortfall in our budget probably in a year or two, and those reserves are going to be used up quite rapidly, and we're going to be faced with some really tough decisions. Do we furlough? Do we lay off? Do we cut programs? And to get ahead of that curve, we need to do something now. Whether that's and I believe employing a full-time grant writer that just goes out looking for funding would certainly enhance the funding that we've already gotten. So I think that those are the type of things that I can bring to the table.
Okay, let's talk about downtown for a minute. What's your vision for the downtown area, and what kinds of specific things would you like to see down there? What could be accomplished with the city working with the downtown business owners?
I'd love to see a mixed-use type facility downtown. I'd love to see it evolve into a smaller version of Gaslamp in San Diego. The reality of that is you have a lot of absent building owners that don't live or reside in this county, let alone, actually in the state. And I don't know if it's going to take the city, the RDA, to go and actually purchase some of these properties and make a pilot program from that. And I really think that that's probably where we're at. I was up in Orange County, all the area right around Disneyland was developed in that manner. What they did was the city and the RDA and their association actually went in there and purchased lots, and then they turned around and they made a deal with a developer to come in and said, okay, we're going to give you this lot for $1, and you're going to pay for all of the improvements, infrastructure, building, everything. We're going to give you the specs to do it by, and then you're going to be the property manager on top of that. And I mean, you look at the area around Disneyland, it's booming. Now, obviously, sure, it's got a hell of an anchor with Disneyland, but all that area around there for years and years was not developed and was really blighted areas. And they have a lot of mixed use now. They have retail, commercial, they've got residential. And what it took was a city coming in there and making the first 1 or 2 pilot programs. In fact, I think they took the first 3 blocks and did that. And then private investors saw that and said, hey, this will work. But to have a private investor come in and do it and be the first guy, and especially in this economic time, it's just too risky. And investors don't have that kind of disposable income to take a chance. So really, it's really going to be on the city to be the one to take that first chance and try to develop something, try to make it an anchor, and then hopefully private investors will come in behind it and continue with the program.
If you're elected, what would the first thing you would do? What was the first thing you'd really focus on? What do you think one of the top needs in the city is?
I think that's a twofold question. I think the first thing I would do is I'd really look at the budget and look at where our spending is, what we're spending money on, what we're not spending money on. I think that we have some priorities that we need to really look at. Certainly, roads is a major issue. Yes, there's some road work being done right now. Yes, they're looking at the bonding of Measure D money in the future. And I think those are all positive moves, and we really need to get ahead of the curve. We've been behind the curve for so many years on road repair and infrastructure. But on top of that, we're looking at Parks and Rec. I mean, we look at from a quality of life standpoint, where we're going and what we have to offer to our youth. Our parks are not where they need to be. Buckland Park is kind of supposed to be our gem of the city, but yet you drive by there and there's dead grass, there's dead trees, the water's green, there's trash in it. What are we doing to upkeep our one gem of a park, let alone expanding and developing other parks? So I think that we need to shift the financial responsibility away from subbing out services, because currently the city subs out all of their landscape and lawn services to an outside company. And what they did was, years ago, as our Parks and Rec and maintenance crews retired, and they'd been involved, let's say for many years, they chose not to backfill those positions. They chose to then start contracting more and more of that work out, to the point now where just about everything from that standpoint is subbed out. What I believe that does is it leaves, or it causes a lack of ownership. When the city crews worked on those parks and those parks were theirs, there was a sense of ownership. If the parks looked bad, then it was a reflection on those people. Whereas an outside company, they come in, they mow the grass, they do their thing, they collect their check, and they really don't care, because they're doing the work in all the cities or countywide or whatever. And so I think there might be an initial cost in reestablishing that department, but I think in the long run it really generates or regenerates an interest in keeping our parks maintained the proper way. So that's a kind of a reallocation of budget money, and I really need to look at the budget and see how we make that happen. But I really think that that's an important move, and we need to really start looking at where we are in quality of life for our kids.
Well, speaking of parks, do you support the idea here for this skate park and aquatic center in the downtown area here? I mean, that could obviously achieve one of the goals you're
Sure.
discussing here. What kind of timeline, if you were on the council, would you like to see? Would you like to see this pushed?
Well, I think I've seen the rendition of what, and I honestly think it's a pie in the sky type deal. The water park, I mean, yeah, it'd be great, but we have so many other issues that aren't being taken care of. Do we spend millions of dollars on a water park, or do we fix our infrastructure? Do we solidify our public safety, or do we spend millions of dollars on a water park? And so you really look at the priorities. I do support the skate park, because the initial outlay of money for a skate park is nowhere near what they're talking about for the water park. I think from in my business of doing security, we see a lot of property damage done by skateboarders and people on bicycles, and the problem with that is when you catch them, catch these kids and they're out and they're not, for the most part, they're not trying to destroy property, but they have no other outlet to do their skating. And I've many times had conversations with them, and I've caught them at Valley Plaza, and I say, hey, you guys are just tearing the hell out of these walls. What are you doing? You need to go somewhere else. And how many times I've heard, where do you want me to go? And you know what? I really don't have an answer for that. What do I tell them? Another parking lot that's not my client. I mean, I don't know. So you really have to give them an outlet in order to enforce, certain rules and ordinances in the city. You have to give them an option. Either go to the skate park, and then if we build your skate park and you're not using the skate park, and now you're damaging personal property or private property, then we're going to hold you accountable. Then we're really going to nail you to the wall. But it's unfortunate, but it's almost an unfair situation for these kids, because they really don't know, they don't have any place to go. So I would be in favor of the skate park. I think we need it, and I think that once we get that, then we can start enforcing really hard the property damage issues that some of the businesses are facing.
Okay.